It was around 7:45 p.m. That sticky hour in Miami where the sun dips low but the heat refuses to let go. The ceiling fan spun lazily above, doing next to nothing. I had just gotten out of the shower, wearing gym shorts and an old college tee, heading to the kitchen to grab a drink when I noticed Clara's laptop glowing on the dining table. It was an ordinary sight, her MacBook sitting open with a few sticky notes scattered around it. But something about the way the screen faced the hallway caught my eye, almost like it wanted to be seen. I glanced at it. What I saw stopped me in my tracks. Her Gmail was open. A message sat front and center, as if frozen mid-thought, no greeting or signature. Just 5 words. Thank you for last night. No emojis. No name. Just a black text message against a white screen, and yet it hit me like a punch to the chest. I stood there staring at it, blinking as if maybe the words would rearrange themselves into something less incriminating. They didn't. The subject line read nothing but, no subject, and there was no previous thread beneath it. Just that single line, stark and direct. I didn't touch the trackpad, didn't scroll, didn't even breathe. It felt like one of those movie moments where the camera zooms in while the background pulls away. Disorienting, nauseating. In that 1 second, 100 thoughts blitzed through my mind. Who was it from? Was it real? What happened last night? My eyes were still glued to the screen when I heard her bare feet approaching from the hallway. Clara appeared in the doorway a moment later, brushing her still damp hair over one shoulder. She was wearing one of those oversized shirts she always stole from me, the one with the faded print of a Radiohead album on the front. When her eyes met mine, then followed my gaze to the laptop, something shifted in her face, almost imperceptibly, but not to me. Not after 10 years together. Hey, she said quickly, voice breezy. What's up? I didn't say a word. I just stepped aside slightly so she could see the screen. Her eyes narrowed for half a second, not confusion, not fear, calculation. Then, just as quickly, she broke into a short, nervous laugh. The kind people do when they're caught in something but trying to pretend they aren't. Oh God, she said, rolling her eyes. That's just from one of the guys on the campaign team. They're always sending dumb stuff like that after long shifts. Total joke. She waved her hand like it was beneath explanation. Still, she walked directly over to the laptop and shut it with a little too much force. The click echoed in the silence. Seriously? She added, already heading toward the speaker on the shelf. You know how weird that crew is? Everyone's sleep-deprived and sarcastic. It's harmless. I didn't answer. My stomach had already begged asterisk and that slow, sinking twist. Like I was falling, but only inside. She turned on the Bluetooth speaker and paired it with her phone. A jazzy, upbeat track started playing. Something from a Spotify playlist we used to put on during wine nights. Then she started humming along, walking toward the fridge like nothing had happened. You want something to drink? She called over her shoulder. I was thinking maybe we could do dinner out on the patio? It's nice out. Still, I said nothing. I wasn't even angry in that moment, just suspended, like part of my mind was still trying to convince myself I'd misread it, while the other half had already started assembling the pieces of a bigger puzzle. Pieces that had been lying around for a while. And that's what scared me most, because the truth wasn't in the email. It was in how fast she explained it. How ready she was with a harmless excuse. How she didn't ask me what I saw, just immediately worked to undo it. That's the kind of behavior you only learn when you've rehearsed it. And I realized then, standing barefoot in our quiet kitchen, that this wasn't a one-time fluke. It wasn't a rogue message or a joke taken the wrong way. It wasn't harmless. It was a crack. And when you've lived with someone long enough, you can tell the difference between a surface scratch and a structural fault. I saw it in her eyes. A flicker of panic she couldn't quite mask. Not panic that I misunderstood something, but panic that I understood it perfectly. Still, I didn't confront her. Not that night. I nodded when she offered wine, sat beside her on the patio, even laughed at some dumb story she told from work. I listened as she talked about deadlines and pitches and a new manager who couldn't read a room. I played the part, let her think I believed it, but inside, Inside, I was already unraveling every memory from the last 3 months, looking backward with new eyes. Suddenly, the late-night showers made sense. The new wardrobe for work. The jokes she texted while giggling alone in the living room. And then the absences. Not the big ones, not disappearing acts. No, the subtle absences. The way her body was next to mine in bed. But her mind was somewhere else. How she used to kiss me goodnight and say, "Love you," like a reflex. But lately, there was a half-second pause before the words came out. That pause. That damn pause had been bothering me for weeks. I just hadn't known what it meant. Now I did. The thing is, I wasn't even looking for a reason not to trust her. I'm not the jealous type. If anything, I've always been the one people said was too chill, too trusting. But something about that message, its casualness, its audacity, made me feel like I'd been sitting in a burning room, convincing myself it was just the light. And I think that's what betrayal really feels like. Not like a bomb, but like the moment you realize the quiet you've been living in wasn't peace. It was avoidance. That night, when we finally went to bed, Clara slipped under the covers beside me and rested her head on my chest like she always used to. I kept my arm around her, because what else was I supposed to do? My heart beat against her cheek, steady and slow. She sighed contentedly, like someone who had dodged something. I stayed awake for hours, staring at the ceiling, listening to her breathing settle, her weight sink into the mattress. And I thought, this is how it begins. Not with shouting, not with confessions, not even with proof. Just a message, just 5 words, and a silence that says more than any apology ever could. After that night, nothing looked the same. I started noticing the small things, things I'd probably dismissed before without a second thought. But now, every detail felt loaded. Every interaction carried an undercurrent. Clara still moved through the house like normal, laughed, cooked, kissed me goodbye in the morning, but I wasn't seeing her through the same lens anymore. The illusion had cracked, and once you see the break, you can't unsee it. It wasn't just the message anymore. It was her timing, her patterns, the subtle shifts in rhythm that no one else would have noticed except someone who had built a life with her. She started taking longer showers at night. That was new. Clara used to shower in the mornings before heading to the office. Quick, routine. But a few weeks ago, she began claiming the hot water around 11 p.m. every night, said it helped her unwind. At first, I didn't think anything of it. But suddenly, those late-night showers felt symbolic, like she was rinsing away something she didn't want me to see. Then there were the outfits. She bought 3 new dresses in the span of 2 weeks. Tight-fitting, flattering, stylish. Nothing outlandish, just intentional. She never wore them around me. Said they were for client mixers or girls' nights. But when I offered to pick her up after one of those nights, she declined. Always with a smile. Always with a reason. "Don't worry, I'll Uber." Or, "I might crash at Maya's, we've got early brunch tomorrow." The phone habits changed too. She used to text at the kitchen counter, phone face up on the table. Now, she always tilted its screen down. And she didn't laugh at my jokes as much anymore. Not in that effortless, belly laugh kind of way she used to. Her smiles felt curated. Her laughter delayed, like she was calculating whether something deserved a response. And when the phone rang, which it did more often than usual, she'd pick it up quickly, say, "Want to see," and step into the bedroom or out onto the patio. I asked once who it was. She said it was work. I asked what about. She said she didn't want to bore me with office drama. I let it slide, but deep down I knew something was happening, something I wasn't being told. What hurt wasn't just the suspicion, it was that she was good at hiding it. Too good. I'd always believed honesty was her thing. She once told me she hated secrets, even as a kid. Said they made her feel sick to her stomach. Now she was keeping secrets from me, and she looked just fine. That made me feel like a stranger in my own house. One night, I watched her from the living room as she got ready to go out. Said she was meeting old college friends she hadn't seen in years. I didn't question it, didn't even raise an eyebrow. Just nodded and said, "Have fun." But I watched from the hallway as she put on lipstick in the mirror. Not the everyday kind, but the deep red one she only wore on special occasions. I watched her smile at herself softly, like she was preparing for something that had nothing to do with nostalgia. After she left, I sat in the quiet and tried to remember when I last felt connected to her. Really connected. Not in the same room. Not watching the same show. I mean the kind of closeness where you feel known, where you feel chosen. Couldn't remember. And that, more than anything, was what finally broke me. So I started going back in my head. Replaying things. Rebuilding a timeline. A few months ago, she had picked up a few extra hours. Said her team was understaffed. I was proud of her hustle. She started coming home later. Said she was grabbing dinner with coworkers. Her texts got shorter. Drier. Then the meetings started happening on weekends. Then I stopped asking. Now I realize that's the moment she started testing my boundaries. Seeing how much she could get away with. Seeing if I'd push back. I didn't, because I trusted her. Completely. And that trust, that blind, honest, stupid trust, was being used against me. I couldn't say anything yet, though. Not without more. I knew if I confronted her with just a gut feeling, she'd turn it around. She'd tell me I was paranoid. That I was insecure. That I was projecting. She'd flip the script so fast I'd start questioning myself. And the truth is, I wasn't ready to see her lie to my face. Not yet. So I played it cool. I became a silent observer in my own marriage. I watched her habits like they were evidence in a case I never wanted to build. I paid attention to her scent. When she came home, sometimes she smelled like a different cologne. Faint but there. Too musky to be perfume. Not mine. Once, I asked jokingly, "Should I be worried about that new cologne on you?" She laughed. "Oh please. Probably just someone I bumped into at the office or elevator." Then she kissed me on the cheek and walked away. The worst part? I smiled back. I nodded and smiled like nothing was wrong. Like I hadn't just swallowed a dozen needles. But every night, lying beside her, I stared at the ceiling while she slept. And I kept asking the same question. Is this the beginning of the end? Or has the end already begun? I started checking her schedule. Not overtly, just little things. I'd ask what time she'd be home, then note it. Compare it to when she actually arrived. I didn't say anything when the gaps didn't add up. I just wrote them down. That's when the new habit started. I forgot my charger at work. Or, I'm just grabbing a quick coffee down the street. Late night errands. Solo drives. Phone calls on speaker that turned to private whispers the moment I walked in the room. But still, I said nothing. I wasn't ready to be the guy who snooped through her stuff. I wasn't ready to become suspicious and bitter. I still wanted to believe it could all be explained, that it was work stress or maybe a phase. I even started convincing myself that maybe I was the problem. Maybe I'd grown distant. Maybe I hadn't noticed her fading because I was fading too. So I made an effort. I started doing little things again. Surprising her with takeout from her favorite sushi spot. Making the bed. Offering to pick her up from work. She smiled. She said thank you. She kissed me. But it felt like someone thanking a stranger for holding the door open. One night, I woke up around 2:30 a.m. to the sound of her phone buzzing on the bathroom counter. She'd left the light on. I got up, rubbed my eyes, and walked in half asleep. Her phone was lit up with a notification. A message preview. Can't stop thinking about you. My chest tightened. I didn't recognize the number. It was unsaved. I stepped back, heart racing, as if I'd stumbled into something illegal. I didn't wake her, didn't touch the phone. I just stood there, bathed in the bathroom light, feeling like the floor was giving way. The next morning, she acted like nothing had happened, smiled at me over coffee, asked how I slept. I lied. Good, I said. Really good. And that lie made me realize how far we drifted, because it was the first one I'd told her in a long time. I was lying to protect myself. From what? From the truth I was starting to accept. The woman I loved was no longer just mine. And deep down, she didn't seem sorry about it. The truth never arrives all at once. It shows up in pieces, slow, sharp fragments that cut deeper each time. That's how it happened for me. Not with a confrontation or a confession, but with a quiet buzz on my phone during lunch, a flash of numbers I wasn't expecting, and a sinking feeling that this time, I couldn't explain it away. It started with the geolocation. Clara and I had our phones linked under the same family plan. A leftover convenience from better days, shared playlists, synced calendars, the occasional "can you grab eggs?" text from the grocery store. We never used it for tracking each other. It just existed in the background. Until that afternoon. I was at a sandwich place near work, half listening to a podcast, when I noticed the notification. Your vehicle has arrived at Coastal Waterfront Residences. I stared at it. She said she was at a strategy meeting downtown. That address wasn't downtown. It wasn't near her office. It wasn't near anything. It was a row of private condos along Biscayne Bay. I'd driven past them before. Sleek glass buildings, valet service, high-end everything. Definitely not a place you accidentally end up. I tapped the screen again. It showed her car had been parked there for over an hour. I didn't eat my sandwich. Just sat there, staring out the window at nothing, trying to talk myself down. Maybe she was meeting a client there? Maybe it was a networking thing? Maybe, but deep inside I knew. This wasn't a coincidence. It was a breadcrumb. That night, I opened her laptop while she was in the shower. I know how that sounds. But when you've been lied to, when you've been sitting in the slow erosion of your reality, you stop caring about rules. You start caring about truth. Her passwords were all saved. I didn't dig deep. I didn't have to. Her browser history showed a hotel booking confirmation from 2 nights ago. The location, a day-use suite at a boutique hotel downtown. Check-in at 11 a.m. Check-out at 3 p.m. One guest. The same day she told me she'd spent the afternoon in back-to-back meetings. There it was. Proof. Not a misunderstanding. Not an innocent coincidence. Deliberate. Quiet. Planned. I didn't confront her that night. I closed the laptop, went back to bed, and laid there in the dark, listening to her breathing beside me. It sounded peaceful. Steady. Like someone who had no idea she'd been caught. Or worse, like someone who knew and didn't care. The next morning, I did something I never thought I'd do. I started digging for him. I'd seen a contact pop up more than once on her phone, Noah. No last name, just a first name, saved without emojis or photos or any of the markings people usually give close friends. Something about it had always stood out, even when I was trying to pretend nothing was going on. I took the number and ran it through a reverse lookup tool. It wasn't hard. I found a LinkedIn profile in under 5 minutes. Noah Merritt, marketing director, a neighboring firm, office just 2 blocks from hers. We'd never met, never even heard of the guy before now. But he was in every photo from her company's holiday party, standing just behind her in group sh*TS, smiling too easily, too familiar. I searched his name and company, found out where he worked, the coffee shop his team used for breakfast meetings, the charity event he helped host in Coral Gables last month. This wasn't paranoia anymore. It was research. It was defense. I didn't tell anyone. Not friends, not family. There's a strange kind of shame that comes with being betrayed. You don't want to say the words out loud because it makes it real. Because deep down, you wonder what it says about you, that someone could choose not you. That evening, Clara came home like normal, kicked off her heels, complained about traffic, gave me a tired smile and kissed my cheek like a reflex. I watched her as she poured wine, leaned against the kitchen counter, scrolling through her phone. She looked happy, relaxed, and in that moment, I hated how well she was playing it. I asked casually, "How was the meeting today?" She didn't miss a beat. "Exhausting," she said. "Everyone's running in circles. I'm thinking about skipping the next one and sending a clone." I smiled, nodded. She lied, and she lied well. And that, more than anything, broke something inside me. I slept in the guest room that night. I told her it was because of a work call I had early the next morning. She offered to move. I said no, it was fine. She shrugged and said, "Okay, babe," then rolled over and turned out the light. She didn't ask questions. She didn't fight for the space beside me. And in that quiet room with the thinner mattress and scratchy sheets, I finally admitted something I'd been running from. I wasn't paranoid. I was right. I wasn't confused. I wasn't insecure. I wasn't imagining things. She was cheating, and she was doing it in plain sight. The next morning, I looked at myself in the mirror and barely recognized the man staring back. Hollow-eyed, unshaven, tired in a way that sleep couldn't fix. I wasn't angry yet. That would come later. Right now, I was just grieving. Not just the betrayal, but the months I'd spent trying to fix something that was already broken. All the nights I'd asked if she was okay. All the times I'd covered for her, believed her, loved her anyway. I had given her every benefit of the doubt, and she'd used that doubt like a wee *p*n. That evening, I looked Noah up one more time. I stared at his smug, well-lit profile picture. The crisp shirt, the fake casual smile of a man who thought he'd gotten away with something. I didn't reach out. Not yet. But I started thinking about what I'd say if I did. Something simple. Something cold. Something that would make him feel the weight of what he'd done. Because this wasn't just about Clara anymore. This was about the man who saw a ring on her finger and went after her anyway. And maybe, just maybe, it was time he realized I wasn't the fool they thought I was. I didn't want drama. Not the yelling. Not the chaos. Not the big screen breakup scene where furniture gets thrown and neighbors peek through blinds. I wanted truth. Clean, simple, undeniable. But truth doesn't come like that. Not when someone's been rehearsing their lines. And Clara? She was ready for the spotlight. It was a Thursday when I finally brought it up. Not during dinner, not in bed. I waited until the next morning, when she was scrambling for her keys and half listening to a podcast in the kitchen. I stood in the doorway, arms crossed, calm on the outside. Inside, I was a bonfire of pressure. "Clara," I said, "we need to talk." She glanced at me, caught off guard. "What's up?" "Sit down." She blinked. That smile she wore like armor started to fade. "Babe, I'm already late. I know where you were Monday." A pause. Not dramatic, not long. Just enough time for her to register the shift in air pressure. Enough time for me to see the flicker behind her eyes. The one that said she already knew which lie had just fallen apart. "I don't know what you mean," she said. I said nothing. Just stared. She exhaled. Looked down. Then back up. The first mask slid into place. "I was at a client meeting. You know this. I told you." "No," I said flat. "You said you were downtown, but your car was parked at the waterfront apartments for over an hour." She blinked again. "What?" I took a step forward. "I didn't follow you. I didn't break into anything. I just saw it. A location alert from the car. That's all it took." Silence. Her lips parted, and for a moment I thought maybe this was the moment it would all come out. The apologies. The truth. The shame. But no. She tilted her head, narrowed her eyes. "You've been tracking me?" There it was. She'd skipped guilt. Jumped straight to offense. "You're turning this on me?" I asked. "I'm just saying, it's a little invasive, don't you think?" "What's invasive?" I said, slowly. "Is cheating on your husband and pretending it's a staff meeting." Clara folded her arms. "I'm not cheating on you. Clara, I'm not." Her voice was calm. Her tone was measured. She was doing everything right. Textbook denial. No emotion, no flinching, no overcorrection. It was polished. Too polished. "You booked a hotel room," I said. "Deus. Midweek. You paid with our shared card." "I told you," she said, and now her voice rose just slightly. "We've been swamped at work. I needed space to get things done. Quiet. A few of us have done it. It's not a big deal." I stared at her. She was good. I'll give her that. So Noah was there too? The silence was seismic. I didn't even need an answer. Her face said everything. The twitch of her jaw, the way her eyes locked on mine a little too tightly. Like if she just stared hard enough, she could reset time. "I don't know why you're bringing him into this," she said finally. "He's a coworker. You call him after 10 p.m. He's on West Coast hours. You danced around my questions for weeks, lied about where you were, took secret calls, started hiding your phone. Come on, Clara. At least have the decency to stop insulting both of us. She bit her lip, then opened her mouth to speak. But again, I cut her off. I'm not asking for more lies. I'm not asking for spin. I'm asking if you have the courage to admit the truth. She shook her head. This is crazy. You're paranoid. No, I said quietly. I'm awake. She didn't respond, just stood there, hands trembling slightly. And for the first time I saw it, not guilt, not sadness, fear. Not fear of what she'd done. Fear that her little ecosystem was collapsing, that I wasn't going to play the part anymore. I turned and walked to the living room, sat down. My hands were steady now. My voice didn't shake. She followed a few seconds later, but she didn't sit. Okay, she said. You want the truth? I looked up. She folded her arms again. A barrier, a stage cue. Nothing happened. Not really. I raised an eyebrow. Not really. There was a connection. I don't know. We got close. We talked a lot. He understood things you didn't. Things I was going through. I exhaled slowly. So there was something. I didn't sleep with him, she said quickly. I didn't ask. But yes, she continued. I confided in him. We had drinks. A few times. Talked about things. I needed someone to talk to. You had me, she scoffed. You haven't really been present in months. And there it was. The turn. My fault. My absence. My inattentiveness. The classic playbook. We all go through hard seasons, I said. That's marriage. You don't get to use that as an excuse to build a second life behind my back. Her eyes glistened. Not tears yet, but close. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like, Clara? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks a hell of a lot like betrayal. She didn't answer. The air between us was thick with things unsaid. It sat heavy, pressing down on the silence like weight on my chest. Finally, she said, I didn't mean for it to go that far. But it did. A pause. Then, I guess, that was all I needed. I stood up, walked past her toward the hallway. She didn't follow this time. I grabbed a pillow from the linen closet and walked into the guest room. She called out behind me. So that's it. For now, I said, and I closed the door. That night, I stared at the ceiling, trying to remember what it felt like to sleep beside someone you trusted. Someone who didn't make you doubt every smile, every excuse, every carefully chosen word. The room was cold. My feet stuck out from the blanket. The mattress was too firm. And yet, it was better than pretending in the bed we used to share. I don't remember falling asleep that night. Only the weight of everything pressing down until my body gave up. The guest room was dim and unfamiliar, even though I'd walked past it for years. There was no warmth in that bed, no history. Just a mattress, a lamp, and the hollow ache of too many thoughts. When I woke, the house was silent. Clara was already gone. She'd left a note on the kitchen counter. I'll give you space. Call me if you want to talk. It was written in her clean, rounded handwriting, the same style she used for birthday cards and grocery lists. Felt mechanical now, empty, like a placeholder where emotion used to be. I didn't call her. Instead, I sat at the table, sipping black coffee and staring out at the backyard. The sun was already creeping in, spilling gold over the grass. It should have been a peaceful morning, but all I felt was hollow. That was the day something inside me shifted. I stopped playing defense. If she was going to treat our marriage like a stage production, putting on smiles and playing her role, then I was done being her audience. It was time to rewrite the script. So I started with him. I went back to what I'd found before. Noah Merritt. Clean-cut. Safe-looking. A LinkedIn profile that screamed networking happy hour. He had a face you'd forget in 5 minutes, which in a way made this worse. She hadn't fallen for someone remarkable. She'd fallen for convenient. I knew from his socials that he had breakfast most mornings at a harbor cafe near his office. A quick search told me the place. Simple, quiet, popular among the white-collar crowd who liked overpriced espresso and sea views. I decided I'd pay it a visit. The next morning, I got up early, dressed in jeans and a plain polo, and drove out to the cafe. The sunrise made the harbor glow like something out of a travel ad. But I wasn't here for the scenery. I spotted him within minutes. He was sitting near the window, back straight, phone in hand, alone, stirring his coffee like a man with nowhere else to be. I studied him from a few tables away, watched how he smiled at the waitress, how he scrolled through his phone like nothing could touch him, like a man who thought he'd won something. I waited until he stood up to leave, tossing a few bills on the table. As he turned, I stepped into his path. Noah. He paused, confused for a beat. Then recognition flickered in his eyes. Oh, Mark, right? So Clara had mentioned me. Interesting. I nodded. Calm. Controlled. Got a second? He looked around, then back at me. I won't take long. I gestured toward the exit. He followed me outside, the ocean breeze cutting through the warmth. We stopped near the railing that overlooked the water. You know who I am, I said. He nodded slowly. I do. You know what this is about. Another nod. Good. Then I'll keep it simple. You stay away from my wife. He opened his mouth, maybe to defend himself, maybe to apologize. I didn't give him the chance. I'm not here to threaten you. I'm not going to make a scene. But I need you to hear this very clearly. If I see your name, your face, or your number near her again, I will make sure the people around you know who you are. Not just co-workers. Everyone. And I promise you, Noah, the version of you they'll see won't help your little career. His face tightened. Look, I didn't mean for any of this to. Save it, I said. Whatever version of the story you've told yourself, keep it. Just don't think for 1 second that this ends quietly if you decide to keep circling. He looked down, jaw flexing. He wasn't used to being confronted. That much was clear. I get it, he said finally. It's over. I nodded once. Good. And just like that, I walked away. No yelling. No pushing. Just silence and consequence. I didn't feel better. But I did feel something. A sense of return. Like I wasn't just absorbing damage anymore. Like I had some say in how this would go. When I got home, Clara was sitting at the kitchen island, laptop open, typing. She looked up when I walked in, eyes wide. Hey, she said. I didn't know you were going out. I didn't respond. Just poured myself some water and sat down across from her. Her hands hovered over the keyboard, then slowly lowered. Can we talk? I took a sip. Sure. She hesitated. I want to say I'm sorry. For everything. I know I hurt you. I was stupid. I didn't mean to let it get this far. I lost track of what mattered. I nodded but said nothing. She tried again. It was a mistake. That word, mistake, burned. Mistake, I echoed. Like tripping over your shoelace? No, she said quickly. I mean, I didn't plan it. I didn't go looking for something. It just happened. It didn't just happen, I said. You made choices. Repeatedly. You covered them up. Lied about them. Protected them. Her eyes welled. I know. I watched her carefully. There were tears. Regret, maybe. But also something else. Something that twisted in her expression when I didn't reach across the counter. Didn't tell her it was okay. I realized then. She wasn't upset because she hurt me. She was upset because her backup plan was falling apart. He's done, I said. She blinked. What? I spoke to Noah this morning. He got the message. You won't be hearing from him again. Her face flickered. Shock, anger, panic, all in a single second. What did you say to him? I told him the truth. That if he came near you again, his world would get very small. Mark, that's not your decision to make. I leaned in slightly. No, Clara, it wasn't yours either. But you made it. Silence. And in that silence, I saw the truth more clearly than ever. She wasn't mourning us. She was mourning him. That was the final blow. Not the affair. Not the lies. but realizing that even now, when she was face to face with everything she'd destroyed, her priority was someone else. "I'll move to the guest room," she said quietly, as if she could sense what I was thinking. "Give you space." I shook my head. "No," I said. "I'll be staying there." Her brows furrowed. "Why?" "Because I don't want space," I said. "I want distance." She flinched. I stood up, grabbed my keys, and walked out before she could say anything else. That night, as I lay on the guest room bed again, I wasn't cold. I wasn't confused. I was calm. More calm than I'd been in months. And I realized something strange. Loneliness, when it's honest, hurts less than lies wrapped in company. When I got home, Clara was crying. Not for us, but for him. She said it was a mistake, begged me to understand. But I'd already seen her priorities. She wasn't mourning our marriage, just the man she lost when I stepped in. That clarity hurt, but it also set me free. I didn't shout. I didn't argue. I just looked at her, and for the first time, felt absolutely nothing. The next day, I filed for divorce. Clara begged for therapy, said we could erase the past. But some things don't get erased, they get revealed. I packed my bags that evening and left. Not in anger, but in quiet resolve. As the door shut behind me, I felt no relief, just peace. The silence in the empty apartment felt more honest than any of her words ever did.